All right, everybody. How are you guys today? I'm doing great. David, how are you?
I'm doing great. It's been a while since we've done this. I'm a little bit out of practice, which means that I might be better than I was a couple of weeks ago because I've kind of forgotten how bad I was.
Because you are practicing the wrong. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Today, we have just a super exciting guest on the show today, Mr.
Yes.
Eugene Naughton from Dollywood, the CEO of the Dollywood Company. How are you?
Hey, good morning, everyone. How are you?
Doing
Wonderful.
great.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I
It actually,
appreciate the.
it's always a cheap thing to go to the weather, which we're in Ohio right now, and we're getting close to November, which means it's just going to be nothing but cloudy every day between now and in March. That's generally what happens. So we're right in the thick of it. It's right pair to season. So yes, that's how it's going in Ohio.
Yeah, well, a little bit wet in Tennessee, and as you know, we're getting ready to launch the most popular time of the year at Dollywood Parks and Resorts. Unusual that we finish stronger in the end of our year than we start in the beginning of our year, and we're hanging 6 million lights this week at the
That's
park,
incredible.
and I can't wait to invite everyone in on the weekend for their first glimpse at Smoky
Now,
Mountain.
now, now, Eugene, is it one of those situations where you get the lights strung up on the thing, and someone comes out and yanks a bulb? Is it one light goes out, they all go out, or they get that?
We have a full and complete tech crew that helps us in our lighting and music productions throughout the entire Smoky Mountain Christmas event. Obviously, they stay tremendously busy for this entire season. But if you think about your boss being Dolly Parton, you're you're probably going to be pretty darn good at live
Yeah.
entertainment, and we work very hard to make sure we honor and make her proud of our offering that we have in front of our guests during this festival season.
Cool, cool, cool. So just out of a personal question, because I'm always hungry. Is what the food offerings that come around for the greatest Christmas event maybe in theme parks, is it different, or is it mostly a lot of the same offerings, or are there like a bunch of new Christmassy foods?
Yeah, we change our food offering throughout our entire festival season. 90% of our year is under a different festival umbrella.
Yeah.
So we only have about 10% of our 280-day plus operating season that is without festival. And that's really because of our commitment to the richness of the overall experience. My undergraduate degree is in culinary services. I studied at Radford University in Radford, Virginia. So, as you can imagine, growing up in this business 40 years ago, starting in food, it's always been a really important part of my approach to the theme park space. And growing up as kid number 7 of 8, basically the
Wow.
only time that we were together as a family was around the dinner table. And if you think about what we stand for and what Dolly always has us try to strive for, is to create a family fortifying experience. So food is always an important part of that overall approach.
Yeah. So let's, if you don't mind, dive a little bit further into your personal professional background before you got to where you are now with Dollywood. Where was your beginning into the attractions industry specifically?
I was working my way through college and traveling from Bradford, Virginia to Kings Dominion in Richmond, Virginia,
Okay.
paying my own way through school. As you can imagine, so many brothers and sisters. My parents basically said, if you're off to college, you're going to be funding it yourself. And I had to figure out how I was going to do that. So my first job in this industry, believe it or not, was managing the funnel cake place on International Street way back in the Wayback
Oh my.
Machine. It was called Deutsch Treats. We had 3
Nice.
registers. I had 9 hosts helping me deliver the day with excellence, and all of the lessons I learned as a funnel cake pourer, I still work on today. And yes, I can still pour a funnel cake faster than any machine that's ever going to be tried. in our environment. So I
many
have
burn
great fun
marks do you have in your arm?
getting on the counters. But I'm going to date myself in saying that I worked 19 years at Paramount Parks.
Hmm.
And if you think at the
Wow.
time when Kiko, King's Entertainment Company, we were a private entity and we sold off to Paramount and Viacom, which afforded me a great opportunity to learn the art of delivering on a brand promise. You think things like Nickelodeon, Paramount Pictures was actually a top 10 brand globally in, across the world. And we were executing attractions and experiences directly related to their movie portfolio, which probably is why I'm awfully comfortable working for my current boss, Dolly Parton, because early on in my career, I figured that out. And I joined the Six Flags organization after my 19 years, worked there 15 years. The thing that I loved about my experience at Six Flags was the idea of working across so many different portfolios of businesses, 28 parks, working in French. So I got a chance to use some of what I learned in high school when I would visit Montreal, our park in La Ronde, which it was always a crack up for me to start in French and then quickly move into English because I was good enough to do that. And then spending some time in Mexico City because we owned a park in Center City, Mexico. So everything was in Spanish. And then just thinking about how I finished up my time at Six Flags, traveling the world, working then for our CEO, James Reed Anderson, who had the vision and the desire to put parks all over the world and license the Six Flags brand. So I was in Abu Dhabi at Dubai Parks and Resorts, helping, deliver and pave the way for that entity to come alive. I'm really excited to see the Six Flags Qiddiya operation.
Yeah.
I think it'll probably come active later this year, maybe towards New Year's Eve or early in 2026, because I helped and part of the small group of people that helped design and execute that park. So I'm looking forward to heading back and seeing all the things related to that. But most importantly, to ride Falcon's Fright.
Yes.
You think about that intimate attraction. I mean, whenever you ever going to get on a roller coaster, and the first downhill thing that they tell you is we got to put brakes on the roller coaster car because it's going to go over 100 miles an hour and it's going to be too fast. So
that's a good thing. Yeah, that's a great thing to hear.
I love doing that. But I can honestly say where I am today for the last 6 years, most favored part and stop in my career, really because working for Dolly Parton is something very special. Getting to work alongside of her is a real treat. She's exactly as you guys would anticipate to be. But I think people miss out on how instinctive she is in business. A lot of times you think she's just about her music, but I have to tell you, she's one of the smartest people that I've ever had the pleasure of working for and with, and have a lot of fun with that.
Wow.
So Eugene, you did work with the Paramount Parks, which is sort of it's a corporate movie studio themed environment, or they tried to go in that direction. Now, also you've been there 6 years. You're working more with a personal brand, and if anyone who's been to Dollywood would know that it's anywhere you work there, it's got her fingerprints all over everything. So what is the difference between trying to theme your attractions to the most recent action movie to now you're trying to do the entire park around someone's personal brand?
Yeah, if you think about Dolly Parton and you think about her partners with the Herschend family, the art of storytelling is absolutely king to everything that we do. So, unlike what I used to work on in Paramount with the movies, the script is basically played out.
Sure.
But with my current environment, that we have the ability to get creative and create storylines related to Dolly's journey in life, but also how we activate attractions, really is the art of storytelling, which I tremendously love. And for most of my adult life working for publicly traded companies, you're under a complete and utter pressure to deliver the day in a very short amount of time. It's always about the last quarter. What I love about what I do today, it's really more about the long ball approach, and where do you want to end up when you finally reach that flag out in the distance. And I have really appreciated Herschel and Dolly's approach to the long ball view, as opposed to just running at the last quarter.
Yeah, cool. So, what specific, if you don't mind, I feel like everyone has to be so curious. When you're working with the Dolly Parton, what is like her? We say like she has her fingerprints on everything. What does that look like day to day working with her?
Yeah. So, with our new attraction, Night Flight Expedition, which I know we'll spend some time talking about, everyone
Yes.
seems to be really, really excited about what we're doing there. And I think anytime you hear about an attraction like Dollywood theme parks, building an attraction that cost more than Dreammore when we first opened Dreammore 10 years ago, that's saying something, right? The bigness and fullness of what we're trying to, accomplish there. But Dolly leans in from the very start of the complex development of our rides and attractions, and oh, by the way, our live entertainment as well, right? Why wouldn't you have Dolly approve the production script from one of our new shows, like the one that we just released a couple of years ago, From the Heart, that won Best New Show in the theme park space, was actually Dolly's life journey from start to where she is today. And we hired a gentleman by the name of Don Dietrich, and he was one of the original producers of the New York City Rockettes. And he just happens to love our brand. He happens to love Dolly Parton like everyone else in the entire world does. And he joined in and helped us write and produce From the Heart. And it's a great opportunity for us to deliver high quality, high value entertainment for the guests. But the bottom line is, would go anywhere without Dolly approving the script, from the very beginning. Or another easy example, you think about Heartsong Lodge and Resort, our second resort that we just opened up a few years ago. Well, guess what? She picked all of the touches and finishes in that space. We laid out and gave her an opportunity to choose her jewels that were ending up everywhere that's going to fill the environment. And why do we do that? Well, she has the best instincts ever in terms of show quality and a theme. Think about how many times she changes wardrobe every day.
Yeah.
And they're all customized for what she's doing at that particular time. So she has a real art to being able to pick the final finishes. So I'd say she is really, really involved in it. And we all, as members of her leadership team, think that our main job is to put wings to her dreams, because she's known as our dreamer in chief for a reason. She does think big. Everything that she's ever done in her career has been really big. And our job is to figure out how to best tell her stories that she wants to tell to all the millions of people that come visit us. And when I say millions of people, it's millions of people every year that come to Dollywood. We're really a big force now, not only in the state of Tennessee being the largest attraction and employer here, but in the industry, you're starting to see us bubble up and start to take on the likes of Disney and Universal, the quote unquote big boys that are playing around in Florida. Well, for the last 3 of the 4 years, TripAdvisor has named us the #1 theme park in this country, and we're beating them at their own game. And I think it's the connection and authentic way that we approach our overall guest experience that gives us a leg up, because we're never going to be over commercialized. We're never going to be about that IP brand. It's always going to be about our love of the Smoky Mountains. It's always going to be about the more than 3,000 songs that Dolly has written about her love of the Smoky Mountains and her Appalachia history.
Yeah.
And to me, that's what makes us different than maybe perhaps the other big competitors in our space, is that we can be authentically us. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I of course do want to get into night flight, but before we do, I have one more question I have to ask while we're on the topic. You talk about like your Disneys, your Universals, your Dollywoods. These parks, if you like parks, you know that these are special places. Like that's just a way to say it. And one of the things that makes them so special is the hosts, is the people that are welcoming you into the gate every day. And with Dollywood, I have to wonder a little bit about that, because you're not in a big city with tons of staffing to pull from. At least it doesn't seem like you would be. But you are in a city that needs a ton of staffing for attractions, for like hospitality-minded people who want to welcome people in. And there's a lot of attractions to staff in Pigeon Forge and in Gatlinburg. How do you do it? Like, where are these people coming from? And how do you, on top of just getting them, make sure that they have that hospitality natural mindset that cares about the guest experience?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably when I took over 6 years ago, I spent a lot of time asking all of our leadership, and we have about 477 people in leadership positions across our campus. Of the 4,000 people that work to deliver the day in what we call Smoky Mountain Country, our two resorts, Splash Country and Dollywood, where people are most familiar with. I asked them what was their biggest challenge, or how, as a new leader, I could help them, because I'd be just the third serving president of the Dollywood Company in its 40-year history.
Wow.
And to all of them, they said, we've been short-staffed for a decade. We haven't really had the opportunity to really think about how to advance our business, because we've been in positions matching the tough staffing situation that hits the entire industry. So for me, being a new leader, I thought to myself, if I could solve that, I'm going to unlock the biggest amount of growth potential that this place has ever seen. We had 2,800 people working for us in 2019. Wow. Today we have 4,123. And there's a lot of things that I think were core initiatives that really gave us a leg to stand on to become the employer of choice. We live in a town of 100,000 people. And like you said, there are many attractions and many choices for people to work. And I think if you want to be the employer of choice, if you want to be number one, you have to really be mindful of how you care for our host. And we call them hosts for a reason, because we want to make sure that anyone who comes through our front door feels like they're a close member of our family or a friend. And we want them to leave here thinking, wow, you just blew me away. Yeah. But before anyone is able to serve the guest in the way that you really want, I think you can't give what you don't get yourself. So you have to really know that the organization cares and loves you as individuals before you can do anything else. So my first construction project when I took over as the leader of the company was to renovate the host lounge, because it wasn't the best space. It wasn't the best air conditioning to have a cool respite. We didn't offer food that I think was really fitting for what we needed to do. So my first project actually wasn't guest forward, it was host forward.
Yeah.
And I think that made a real difference to the approach. I wanted to make sure I said thank you to all the tenured people that were coming back year over year, because as you know, high retention rates lead to the opportunity to get to a higher level of service faster in a business that's not open every day, not open 365 days. We actually close about 67 days a year, but still just the same. If more people come back, you can get to the next level faster. Yeah. So I started a thank you bonus program. No strings attached, by the way. If you come back in March your first check is going to include a thank you bonus based on the number of hours and the number of years that you work for us. So I'm handing out checks for $1,750 in March on their first week back for training to say thank you for coming back and helping me get better for our guests.
Yeah.
And our retention
awesome.
rate this past year was 94%. 94%
Wow.
of the people that worked for me at the end of the season started at the beginning of the season. And the thank you bonus is just one thing. But like I started a recruitment program called Recruit for Loot. Who better to know how to sell your organization than your very own people that work for you?
Yeah.
And if it costs you $3,000 to recruit a new person by advertising and doing job fairs in local markets, how about you just give it to the people that work for you and say, you know what? Go out and find me 10 of your friends, and I'm going to give you $1,500 a person, and you're gonna get the benefit of selling where we work, and you know our culture, and you know what our service expectations are. How about I share that with you, and you go out and do that? So our number one recruiting source is the people that work for us. It's no longer job fairs. It's the people that actually are there. They're taking care of that. We have a healthcare clinic because caring for yourself is a really important part of being able to care for others. And if you feel badly, like David, you feel badly today, it's you can't possibly take care of someone else if you do that. So we have a clinic that's open 365 days a year, and without insurance, you can have a primary care physician, and you go see him for $30, and we'll take care of anything that you need to be able to take care of. And oh, by the way, if you're a mom or a dad and you have siblings or dependents at home, they can come too. Even if they're not working for us, they can still come and take care of primary care stuff. And, you know, as funny as as busy as we were when we opened Wildwood Grove in 2019, we used to do this program called the Thank You Lunch. Any day over 20,000, people earn free lunch. And you want to know the number one most thing that people thank me for in my short tenure there in 2019 was free lunch. So guess what? Free lunch every day. So when you work for us, you know, we're going to allow you to start your day with a whole stomach, because if you're hungry inside, you can't really take care of people in your shift. And so if you feel like you need to grab an apple or a sausage biscuit before you start, and then you need to take your lunch break and go grab some lunch, and then let's say you need a burger for the way home because you think that you're not going to have the ability to do that for yourself, you can do that. So it's a real special thing to be able to take care of someone's mind, body, and spirit, because when you do that as a leader, you're going to unlock really big potential growth opportunities for your business, because they're going to give what you give to others. And that really is, I think, the secret sauce of our approach. Now, I'd probably never do half the things working in a publicly traded company that I do today for our hosts. That just wouldn't happen. You wouldn't do it. Yeah. Because you would be worried about the short term and not the long term. But the best benefit I have is to care for our host in the long term. It's probably why, I mean, we have a full-time chaplain as a member of our team. Wow. Because remember what I said, mind, body, spirit. If you take care of all components, that's really important. So we have a full-time nurse advocate that if you're dealing with some maintenance issues that you're not really sure, hey, should I take this blood pressure medicine? What should I eat? How do I improve my cholesterol ratings? Well, we have a nurse advocate that can help you deal with that and help shape your approach. Or let's say you didn't achieve your high school diploma because you had to go to work and take care of your family. Well, we have a program that we started a couple of years ago called Grow You, and it allows you to take college classes for free. We'll pay for your tuition, and we'll also pay for your books. As long as you maintain a B average working for us part-time, we're going to let you do that on day one, working for us, no strings attached. After you earn your 4-year degree, if you decide you want to go live in Utah, the only thing we're going to do is hug you goodbye and ask you to pay it forward and go do good somewhere else in this world. And if you want to stay and you're the best finance accountant, person because of your studies, well, guess what? We got a spot for you because we're a small city of opportunity. Or let's say you've fallen in love with Pigeon Forge and you want to go work for someone else in the city. That's okay too, because it's not just about us winning. It's about the entire town of Pigeon Forge. It's about the entire town of Gatlinburg. It's about, the city of Sevierville. It's not just about us. And that's the beautiful thing about the approach that I get to do as the president of the Dollywood Company, because we get to feed others. I mean, our food ministry that serves our town, about 3,000 families a month, we're 3/4 of their operating budget. And wow. we take care of families locally, and we host races. Light the Way 5K is a fundraiser for the food ministries. We have something going on right now where we invite locals to visit Dollywood Parks and Resorts for $5. And the $5 is a donation to the food bank. And it allows us to generate dollars to be able to donate to the food ministries that take care of families that are in need. And in today's environment, while we run through this controversy of the government being closed and maybe perhaps SNAP funds not available for people on food stamps, well, guess what we're doing? We're not thinking about that. We're just going to take care of people, and we're going to do the right thing, because we know when we do the right thing, it gets paid back to us, and it comes back to us in tenfold. So I think that's the really fun and interesting part about it. And it's a great feeling, by the way. And all of our hosts, they know it and feel it, which is why we always win awards for being the friendliest place in the theme park space. It's why Forbes nominates us. We're the #1 theme park on the Forbes top 300 places to work. We're #1 in the industry on this list. And we've been there for 4 years. And it's because we show great care for the people that work for us, because they show great care to the people that visit us.
That's amazing. I mean, truly amazing.
I've got a very, very important question, maybe two. And going back to the free lunch, which is great. And that's a very important question around that. The burger or the sausage biscuit, can you get bacon on that? Or is that something separate?
No. We're all in. Comfort food is who we are. Think about where we live and our approach to our food offerings across Dollywood. You're going to get that same comfort in our host lounges that you find in our parks.
Well, David was going to apply if you said you could have bacon. He's moving down now. So.
By the way, my cardiologist doesn't love that I love bacon, but I love bacon too, David.
I don't know if there's a man, woman, or child alive that doesn't enjoy bacon. And even if they don't say it, they secretly do. Now, where I was going with that is the 94% retention rate. That's that I don't even know who can rival that. And since you've worked at both these park chains before, and neither of them exist anymore, at least in the original form, we could talk generally about it. When you worked for Paramount Parks and Six Flags, or at least the original iteration of Six Flags, what was their retention rates?
They're in the low 40s. Yeah.
I figured that.
And it's a way different mix of people that even worked at Paramount or worked at Six Flags. They're team-driven organizations. Their DNA is thrill, and the people that work there are thrill-oriented, teams. 35% of my workforce is retired professionals.
Really?
And they're 60 and over. and they're comfortable in our space because we know that we love for them to mentor the younger people that work for us. And they offer a different style hospitality to the visitors that come through the front gate. People often note how grandma and grandpa work at Dollywood, and they can't really understand how we do it. But it's a fine line. You have to balance productivity, because let's face it, the more I need to be able to take a break. So you have to change your business operating philosophy in order to make sure that you make everyone whole, because not everyone can perform at the same level. And that, by the way, that's okay. That's okay. I love all of the people that work for us, and we have just celebrated, 6 people that worked for us for more than 35 years.
Wow.
Heck, 11 people in the beginning of the year. We celebrated our 40th anniversary at the start of this operating season in 25. There were 11 people that worked here before Dollywood was Dollywood, which is kind of cool. So it came from Silver Dollar City, and then they stayed beyond the 40-year history. How cool is that?
That's incredible.
That's very.
Yeah.
And the fact that they stuck along after the original park had been sold to another, that just the transition, they didn't get lost in the transition. That speaks volumes.
Yeah,
for sure.
Well, I tell you, you know what, going through operational stuff, and for what we sent in the notes, we haven't even got out of the first section yet. And honestly, this is an invitation for you to come back so we can dive in, because I like the operational things. And I think a number of people do that listen to this, versus some people get into the next section that we might just now get into, which I think we could camp out for a couple hours, is, and if you don't mind the transition here, Clete, I think we want to break into 2026.
that's a beautiful picture of this.
And I got to tell you, Gene, when I saw when I saw the press release and the videos and everything on that, I thought, oh, well, immediately it's like, well, I know we're going to at least once next summer. And I can only imagine the wait times for this are going to be measured in hours, not minutes, for a number of years.
Yeah, here's the beautiful and the operational side of this, right, means a lot. So you're thinking about entertainment units per guest and what you need to be able to work through to invite more people, to your home. It'd be like not having enough chairs around the dining room table when you're hosting Thanksgiving dinner. So we work very hard as a leadership team to make the right decisions long term. But you're looking at, the key art to a 40-year attraction. So probably 35 to 37 million people are going to ride this ride in the next 35 years, and it's going to be around a long time. It's like Blazing Fury. We did renovations to Blazing Fury that we opened back up on July 4th of 2025 after a $5 million investment in securing its next 40 years run at Dollywood. So I think that's what this represents, and it's going to ride about 1,200 people an hour. And I think, like Big Bear Mountain, you remember back in 2023, we opened Big Bear Mountain in May of 23. Big Bear Mountain's capacity is 900 per hour. So we're stepping it up, even though our investment is going to be an indoor attraction that'll be like none other, in the world. We paid particular attention to the capacity, of this. And, you heard me lean into storytelling in the beginning, and what we concentrate on a lot is, you're going to be entertained even in the ride queue when you're waiting on Night Flight Expedition. It's a little bit about the experience at Big Bear Mountain. There's plenty to look at and review and take in while you're there. And Night Flight Expedition is not going to be anything different than that. So there's a layer of entertainment, built inside of Night Flight. But probably what I'm most excited about was all the near misses in our teasing campaign throughout the 2025 season. I felt like this big weight on my chest that came off during our media day event to allow for some of the curtain to be pulled back and start to really share some of the uniqueness about our use of the rocking boat conveyance system, which I know is famous for its first execution in France. Not to push anything towards my friends in France, but it's more of a passive experience compared to the type of execution that we're doing, because not only do I want this to be comfortable fun, but I want people to have to desire to ride it again, because they're going to have had so much fun that they're going to want to get on Night Flight Expedition many times in 2026 when it opens in the spring. And we live in a very beautiful spot of the country. You know, Smoky Mountain country is the most biodiverse national park in its existence, and it changes face at night, which is where the idea for Night Flight Expedition came from, because Dolly wanted to tell the story of nighttime in the Smokies and how that was going to be, playing out. And what better way than to start off with this experience in a media portion of our storytelling and fly people through the Smoky Mountain National Forest here in Smoky Mountain country. A lot of people misjudged and thought we were only doing a soaring ride. They saw this big, massive 44,000 square foot building that covers the size of 4 football fields being built. And people thought, they were like, oh my God, they're building soaring. I can't wait to ride it. Well, why would I build soaring when Disney has it and the island has it? I'd really want something different, because that's our approach, right? We try to do things different than others. We try to do things that are unique to the Smoky Mountain country. And this media approach that we're doing is really cool because it's immersive. If you rode soaring, which I know you have, you see people's feet when you're in the theater, right? You rise up and you see people's feet. And I think it kind of takes away from the immersiveness of the overall media portion of soaring. But for this, it's 3/4 behind your head. So you're actually coming in, and are going to be surrounded by media. And we're using a technology that allows you to move through the video and to act like you're in the video. It's almost like the VR experience without VR.
Yeah.
And it was a really cool feature, of the presentation that Mock did, to us. I first rode the prototype for the rocking boat in May of 2023.
Wow.
A couple weeks after we opened Big Bear Mountain, I was on a plane to the Netherlands and to Germany to try to select the conveyance system for our next big project that was going to open in 2026. This thing has been going on in development for a really long time. And a lot of people don't understand that about us. But we're already going to IAAPA talking about 2030. When I show up to IAAPA in the month of November of this year, we're buying long term. This isn't about 27. That's already done.
Yeah.
This is about 29 and 30, because it takes that long to get a good story. And everyone loves thrills. And probably the most thrilling part of Night Flight Expedition will be the idea that there's 500,000 gallons of water that are going to rush by you and propel this conveyance system down a river.
Yeah.
Like you're getting a chance to kayak in one of the rapids areas in Tennessee. And I'm probably most excited about people's reaction to that. I think that's going to be a real thrill for people. It's going to catch people off guard. And I'm always getting the question, oh my God, am I going to get soaking wet on this thing? You probably wouldn't want to be soaking wet in December, but maybe in the summer you want to be. So maybe there's a dial I have in the office that allows things to change our use of water over the season, because we do operate over a lot. Now, David, if you come, I'm going to push get soaked.
Here it goes. Here
Right?
it comes.
You're going to be sitting in I know the kind of person you are. You're in the front seat. There's two kinds of roller coaster riders. There's people that have their hands in the air, and there's people that are white knuckled. I know you're the guy that's got the hands in the air. You're all in. I can already tell. So I'm going to have a button in my office, massively wet, David.
You have a red button in the office. Yeah, Eugene, let me fire a shot here. It just not a bad one, but don't expect that. I just mentioned that. No, when was the first day that someone came in and said, "Hey, I've got an idea," that eventually came here? How long ago was it?
Yeah, we're the first 10-year plan that I wrote was in 2019. So I've only changed one thing on the first plan that I wrote with the leadership team at Dollywood Parks and Resorts, and that was to pause the campground execution, because we were going to open that in 26, but because Heartsong hasn't normalized its occupancy and we're still learning how to manage 24,000 square feet of group sales space, I felt like it was prudent to just wait. We needed to get to a higher level of occupancy for our second resort before we enter into an entirely different form of hospitality experience.
Yeah.
So I would say that this dark ride has been a vision on the paper for much longer than you think.
Wow.
So now I love the storyboard experience to start from this and have these meetings that ask, what if? What if? Okay, let's change this plan. What if? And then it comes, and then you end up with a product like this or an attraction like this. Can you take us through the creative process of where this concept began to where it is now?
I mean, it starts as an extension of the Wildwood Grove story.
Sure.
Wildwood Grove opened in 2019 to great success. It helped us add more real estate to our property, 12 new rides and attractions, more entertainment units per guest. So it allows you to invite more people over. It was really the thing that put us on the map from a destination perspective. Oh my goodness, Dollywood's knocked over a whole mountain and added a whole new section to the park. But this is a lot of fun built around Dolly's childhood memories in growing up in the Smoky Mountains. Just about 8 miles from my office is where she grew up. So Wildwood Grove sort of tells that story. This is extending beyond what we did for Big Bear Mountain and adding to that section of the park beyond Big Bear Mountain, which, by the way, we made the soil flat when we did Big Bear Mountain. So we already knew it was coming, and we prepped everything while we were building Big Bear Mountain so that we'd be ready to go, right? I mean, it's like when we opened Heartsong Lodge and Resort, guess what we did? We needed dirt for that site. So we scraped the dirt from resort number 3 because I know we're going to have 5. So we can do that. And it starts with that. It starts with the story. And then the people at the park are Sam's vice president, Jason Booth, Pete Owens, our marketing vice president, a ride geek in his own right. And I get together and we talk about the ride attributes that we think are going to be important to make sure are included into this attraction, things that don't exist in our portfolio today that we think people would like and want to seek. And there's also market research to do, right? There's market research to do with users and non-users of your portfolio. And if you probably go into the Wayback Machine, you'll realize that people have been talking, oh, I received a story from a survey from Dollywood Parks and Resorts, and they had a bunch of different pieces of key art, and they were selling the idea of what storyline I would like most. Well, guess what? Guess what they picked? They picked the storyline for Night Flight. This is why we're doing it. Because you'd be silly to invest, $55 million in an attraction and not ask your guest what they really want to see here. I think that'd be foolish. And that's a part of the design process for us, is to make sure we go out and ask people's opinions that are actually the users of this thing, because I'm not the target audience for this. It's about the families that want to come see us. And, from there, we went to IAPA and wrote our storyline up, and our RFP process, our request for proposal process, included only the storyline and ride attributes that we wanted to see. And then we allowed vendors to participate and build their ideas, their innovative approaches to how they would deliver on the ride attributes that we were looking for. And then that helped define the relationship, which ultimately ended up being with Mock Rides, who won out on the RFP process for our 2026 attraction. So it's an interesting sort of approach, I believe, when you start with the story and then you start with what's important to you as an operator to deliver on a ride attribute perspective. You start to talk about the capacity that you want to deliver out of this attraction, where it's located, how are you going to do that? And by the way, Big Bear Mountain, beyond the first week that it was open, it's been under a 50-minute wait because we have the proper throughput. So although you think it's going to be 2 hours worth of waiting for 2 years in a row to ride Night Flight, I bet you're wrong. Because I think we've done this correctly, and there's so much to do. I mean, we have 10 really great coasters on property right now, and what Night Flight will do is it'll grab a certain certain group of people that want to ride that ride, but there's 10 other coasters that all are equally, high capacity driven rides that will help balance out the overall approach to where people are hot mapping at Dollywood Parks and Resorts. So we do sort of geek out over the operational things like you do, David and Clete, and you think about the fascinating things beyond story and people that really make this business go. It's all those important KPIs that you're looking at and how you manage the infrastructure. It's always a chicken and the egg scenario. I mean, it wouldn't be beyond you that we opened a new parking lot that we spent $7 million on to add 750 more spaces to our parking lot at Dollywood. And we opened it this year in preparation for our 26th attraction, because we're inviting more people over to our home. You need to have a place for them to be. In 2024, we ran out of parking 23 days for more than 3 hours on those 23 days. So why would we not add more parking? And why wouldn't we want that to be ready to go at the start of spring of 2026? And by the way, let's learn how that parking lot's going to interact with the rest of our parking. And let's get really good at it in 25 so that in 26 we're ready to go. So there's a bit of that, right? There's a bit of a chicken and the egg scenario. There's a bit of knowing where you're pushed from a demand perspective. And oh, by the way, you should really know where to spend money based on what your guest needs are and what makes them happy, because that's really what drives it. That's why I walk 18,000 steps a day when I'm on park, when we're open, because I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I'm a really good listener. God gave me one mouth and two ears for a reason, and I'm going to use them in accordance to his plan at that level. And if you just talk to guests and you talk to your host, you know exactly what the pain points are. You know exactly what makes them happy and what doesn't make them happy. And as long as you're comfortable in your own skin and you can accept the truth on how people feel about the overall experience at your park, I think it can lay great groundwork to the future and what you try to solve for.
Wow. Amazing. So we've had you here for a while, and I don't want to like take up your whole day or anything, but I do need to know, how much cinnamon bread do you eat?
Well, let me tell you, it's our number one snack item in
Of
our
course,
park. And
of course.
if you put our loads of cinnamon bread end to end,
Right.
and you stretched it all the way out until it equaled the number of loaves that we would sell,
Yeah.
it would get me all the way to Quebec.
Wow,
Nice.
that's good
So
work.
it's a lot. And it's been so popular that now that we have over 600 beds, in our 2 resorts, we sell cinnamon bread hotly delivered to your door in the resort
Come
with
on.
fresh, hot piping coffee to start the day right at Dollywood Parks and Resorts, right? How about
That's funny.
that? So that is a good reason to stay with us, right? Because not only do you get to eat cinnamon bread, but you're not waiting in line and it's delivered hot to your door.
Yeah, that is a good reason. You're
Yeah.
compelling me. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm compelled.
We're here for you. And I want to say that I've appreciated our time, and I probably know David and Clete, we didn't even talk about half the things
Yeah.
Correct.
that
Not
we
even
wanted
a
to
corner
talk
of it.
for. And I'm always welcome to come back. I enjoy giving back. Actually, today I'm heading to the University of Tennessee, and I'm speaking to project management classes in the Haslam Business School. I don't know if you know my history, but to be a good servant leader and show the path forward, when we announced Grow You, I went back to school and got my MBA while running the Dollywood Company in 2022. So I have my MBA in strategic leadership from the University of Tennessee, because I know living here in Knoxville, you better wear orange.
You better.
And
That's right.
if I could show you the socks I had on, they're Tennessee socks. So I
Nice.
know where I'm heading this afternoon, because I can't wait to lean into the future leaders of this industry and create a fun path forward for them. And thank you for all you're doing to tell the many stories that you do on your podcast. And thanks so much for focusing on our industry. I've enjoyed our time.
Of course. So have we.
It's all really the guests. I'm just a dumb guy that asks questions. We count on the person in the third chair to provide all the details. Yeah, 2 questions. Number one, night flight launch date. Is that established, or what's the day one? Is it when you open, or
I
will it
haven't.
be?
Yeah, I haven't changed my my note on that. It's spring of 2026.
Okay, so it's just a broad brush, so you kind of hit it in there. Second, this is more of a personal. Speaking of IAPA coming up in a couple of weeks, now anyone who's been to IAPA before or been part of any events that they have, and people that haven't been there probably may not be aware, but there's a guy there. His name's Ken Whiting. Everybody, whether it's your first year going there or your 10th year going there, everyone kind of knows who he is.
Yeah.
Now, we were told that there's a challenge that was made between you and Ken. Can you shine some light on that?
Yeah, so in the Wayback Machine, Ken and I have known each other for more than 35 years. We both love the food portion of our business, and that's where I first met Ken. And I challenged him to run a marathon in every state. And I just a few weeks ago went to Atlantic City, and I ran next to him as he was completing his 50th state. And I always like to point out that he finished a few years after me. I finished mine a couple of years ago. Alaska was my final race. Ken was there. He ran with me. Unfortunately, I had knee surgery, so I wasn't able to run the full 26 miles with him. So I ran a mile on the boardwalk with him at mile 8 and 9. And then I walked out and met him at mile 20 and brought him home. But my knee surgeon wouldn't really want me. He's probably going to be mad at me now that I've said I actually ran the end of the race. But anyway, it was a great thing. And of course, being Ken, he had a spirited fundraising event to try to lean into this idea of finishing his final race. So if there's ever a chance that any of your listeners want to jump on LinkedIn and find Ken, you'll see a QR code. And actually, IAPA has agreed to match the fundraising funds that we're able to do. And we're going to give it to students who desire to be in our industry and learn, from other experts in our industry. So I'm excited about that. And, speaking of running, you two may want to come April 24th. David, you're going to be wanting this. I can tell you're going to strap on your shoes because Dollywood Parks and Resorts is getting ready to start a Run Dollywood series. Now, I'm going to let you choose what run you want to run in, but we have a 1 mile kids run. We have a 5K. We have a 10K. And then Ken and I are going to be running in the inaugural half marathon race. That's Sunday, April 24th. And I think this is going to be a really fun way for people to not only run through our park legally, since you can't do that during our daily operating part of our year, but you're legally going to be able to run through our park, but also have a great chance to have some fun today. You're not going to come qualify for Boston with us. It's too hilly in Tennessee, but you can be entertained. And what race do you know that one of the teachers is going to say, I run for cinnamon bread? Because of course there's going to be a cinnamon bread stop along the way of our race course.
Wow. Yeah, that will give you indigestion for the back half of the run.
Nah.
Now, for what it's worth, you're talking about full marathons. You had 50 marathons, 26.2 miles.
It's a bit of a thing. Yeah.
Your cardiologist doesn't like you talking about eating bacon, but how's your orthopedic surgeon feel about this?
He doesn't. No one likes anything to do with either my eating habits, and or my exercise habits. I realize that I put stress on my body when you run 26 miles, but I've never met a bad runner.
Oh, wow.
I've seen the U.S. in a really unique way. I've run over 25,000 miles in my time running races and training for those races. And I miss distance running, but I'm probably stuck to running halves now in my running career. Yeah.
That's good. All right. Well, thanks so much. We've had an amazing time here. Seriously.
It has been yeah, and like we said, we didn't even get through a quarter of what we had. So I guess that means you're coming back at some point.
I guess
I'll be happy to come back whenever you want me. Thank you.
What a shame. What a shame.
Yeah.
Well, seriously, thanks so much. And thank you guys for watching this episode of the Attractions Group podcast. We'll see you back here real soon.